Well, good evening, folks. Welcome live Friday, December 5th, 2025 to the MCU'S Bleeding Edge. Hope you all are doing well out there tonight, and thank you for stopping on by and watching this tonight. We're here to discuss a great film from 1988 called Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. If you're familiar with Bill and Ted, of course, this is the Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter led film, and also starred the late, great, awesome Mr. Carl Carl himself, the great comedian, which I don't know why his name is escaping me at this moment.
George Carlin.
George Carlin. I wanted to say Carl Weathers, but that's not right. So George Carlin, people, George Carlin. Anywho, so like I said, this came out in 1988, or actually, it was made in 88, but was released February 17th, 1989. Of course, it was put out by Orion Pictures, of course, produced by De Laurentiis Entertainment Group, and of course, was directed by the great Stephen Herrick. Stephen Herrick went on and directed a whole bunch of great films from the 90s that, if you're a 90s kid, you grew up with his movies. He did the first Mighty Ducks. He did several films around that kind of era, and was just a really great director. So I think that this is one of his, great films. He also, this is written by Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon, who I believe, if I remember correctly, they have done other films. They've written several other great films. They actually have gone on to write, of course, the two subsequent sequels to this, Bogus Adventure or Bogus Journey, and then of course Face the Music. They also were they wrote on Mom and Dad Save the World and Imagine That, and are I think some decent writers. I think they write some pretty good stuff. If I remember correctly, Ed Solomon went on to do some writing for the film Now You See Me from 2013, which just had its third film come out. So, I mean, these guys, I think, are high-quality writers, and I think they wrote the crap out of this film and made a really fun, entertaining film. So, of course, this once again stars, like I said, Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, George Carlin. It also stars the several other great people that were kind of big 80s staples at the time, like Diane Franklin, who was also in Better Off Dead, and she went on to do several other films, was a big sex symbol in the 80s. We also had Clarence Clemens, who was a great actor who did a lot of great things over the years. He's most notable in this, of course, as Bill and Ted's teacher. And of course, we had, just a really stellar cast. So first off, I'd like to ask you guys to start us off is when was the first time you watched this, and how many times was it since then that you have since this recent time that you watched it for this review? And I'll start with you, Andreas.
Yes. Hello. Yes. This is funny. I seen the sequel, so this is my first time seeing the first film. I seen Bogus Journey because they had the Green Reaper, so I know more about the second film. This is my first time watching this first film for today, but I was aware of it. I mean, this is the breakout role that I think put Reeves in the map. And before his more like acclaimed roles like Speed and Matrix, and of course later on in his career, John Wick. So really loved this film. It was so funny. We had to get into it. I mean, I don't know, you picked this to think about me, the time travel, the Time Lord, but I don't know. It's very funny. Definitely one of the best 80s movies I've seen. I mean, I heard great things about this movie, and I was kind of surprised at some of the casting here. Like I totally forgot that I didn't recognize that was the comedian from Dogman, Kevin Smith's movie. That was the one I know him from in his filmography. But yeah. So very excited to talk about this film for the first time, and see what you guys think about this film. It's a very funny 80s film, and And the writers that did this, they they have decent track record. I mean, Ed Sullivan did Men in Black, which I love. It's one of the best '90s like film. He also did. I don't know if you guys seen this movie, but I seen this one. Mom and Dad Save the World. That's such a like funny, just over the top 80s 90s movie that
Todd Spango.
and oh my god, I don't know, like also he also did the Super Mario Brothers movie, the live action one back in 1993. So yes, I am familiar with some of these people, and I know about this franchise, but I just haven't had a chance to like get into it, except for the sequel, Bogus Journey, because that is fun because they have the Green Reaper there and they force them to be best friends. But that's all I have to say.
All right. So you haven't seen Face the Music either, then?
No, I need to. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I heard good things.
I didn't see it either.
Yeah, it's a good film. It when it came out in 2020, it didn't get enough props, and so I don't think that's why a lot of people didn't see it. But if you get a chance to watch it, it's a fun film. It takes the story on a great journey since Bogus Journey in 1990. So I think they did a good job. All right, Jeff, same question, sir. First time you watched this, and what time would this be this recent watch?
I first watched the movie, I think when it came out, probably on HBO, back in the day, in 1990 or so, right around that time. And then of course I saw the sequel too, several times. I think the sequel was probably the more popular film to people, or like to me, and but to me, in terms of like multiple watches and stuff like that, back in the day. The first film wasn't, it's all right, it's different, it's really like campy. Like I know you enjoy Cyber, but it's still entertaining. It's only an hour and a half long. And a lot happens in an hour and a half in the movie. So like, I will give, credit, with the film in terms of, entertainment, it being entertaining. It definitely holds up pretty well, in 2025 standards. I hadn't seen it, until today, in probably, I don't know, over 30 years, right? I think this is a Goldwyn Mayer film too, isn't it? Because I found it on Prime Video for free, which is amazing because normally whenever I go on Prime, I'm renting something, like it's rare that like a film I need to watch or whatever is there for free. But I actually have had 2 in a row for free on Prime. GoldenEye with Andres, and now this film, which I was surprised, but it was nice. It was nice to see the movie for free on Prime. I wish that would happen more often. But yeah, I didn't know that was a Goldwyn Mayer film. So I thought that was interesting. I'm always interested in seeing like, what studios were involved with the films, so yeah, I mean, I don't know, the some of the humor kind of is a little played out, but for one of Keanu Reeves' like first films, it's pretty solid. I'm not a big fan of the soundtrack. The 1989, 1988, like rock, like where rock was at that time period of the 80s is not like a really like a very a period of music or rock where I'm really a fan of. So that's one thing I will say about the film that maybe I didn't like was some of the music in the film I could do without. Yeah, obviously, you know, what's his name that played Bill, he never like, you know, really broke out at all, you know, past this franchise, right? You know, Keanu did, but he didn't, unfortunately, you know. I'm not sure if he was like, you know, supposed to, you know, end up doing something, you know, like I'm not really sure, but I know I never really saw him in anything after these films. I don't remember him in anything really. You know, you guys would know better than I would if he was in anything, you know, but I don't remember anything myself. I'm sure he continued acting in other stuff. Probably
he segued into doing behind the scenes stuff more versus acting. He did documentaries, he did directing, he did writing, producing, stuff like that.
Okay,
that's what he segued into.
Okay, well that's respectable. You know, you know, that's highly respectable. A lot of actors have done that, you know, which I think is always cool when you see that happen. But that's pretty much it. You know, like I said, when I was a kid, I was definitely a fan of this franchise. You know, it was you know, I mean, the sort of kind of, you know, adult film back then for me, you know, that I found highly entertaining, you know, as a child, right? And I liked Keanu Reeves, you know, when I was very young. I always liked Keanu Reeves, right? And that's pretty much it, Cyber.
All right, thank you, sir. And as always, as I forgot to mention, folks, of course, I have to introduce my fellow castmates here. Of course, we have on the panel tonight Mr. Andres, the pop culture guy, a.k.a. the great Zandini, the great Rambo, the great something. I don't know what else to call him, but he is definitely Time Lord, Time Cop, Time everything. And, you know, he is the Andres, the pop culture guy. Say hello, Andres.
Hello, I'm from the time space.
Good, yeah, good job. And then, of course, I can't forget my loyal co-host, Mr. Jeff S. TrueKnowledge himself, and he seems to be having a good evening. Are you having a good evening, sir?
It's December. Isn't that fucking? That's crazy. It's gonna be 2026 before you know it. I've been looking at what's going on in 2026, and it seems like it's going to be a pretty good, interesting year for television and stuff like that. So I'm excited. Cyber, you muted yourself.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Anywho, as always, we are the MCU'S Bleeding Edge. Thank you for watching us again. Anywho, this film was made for a modest budget in the late 80s for $10 million, which is pretty pricey, I feel, for the time frame, usually, because I felt like some of the stuff around that time was a little cheaper, maybe more like 7, 8 million, a little bit like on that, you know, a couple million, I feel. But 10 million seemed pretty pricey for this film, especially for what it was, you know, a comedy film. But on its small budget, it ended up taking in over $40 million. So that's pretty impressive, you know, for this little film that came out in, you know, 89. So as well, as I was mentioned earlier, the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, which is a subsidiary of one of the producers of this company, you know, that, you know, put this on the great Prime. Don't forget, people, Prime is owned by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. So they are the same company now. So that's why all the Prime stuff has Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer stuff on it now. FYI. But anywho, great film. Great comments right off the bat. You know, these great stories about when you guys watched it. I myself probably watched it not until probably the, you know, late 90s, early 2000s. was the first time I watched it. And I remember just absolutely loving it, thinking it was great, thinking it was fun, thinking it was hilarious. I thought the writing was good. And just really overall enjoyed everything about the film. I love the music in this film. I thought seeing George Carlin in this was hilarious because I was like, George Carlin is in this? I'm like, how the hell did they get that? And that's actually kind of a funny story. They originally, he was not the first choice to play Rufus. He was actually a happy accident that they got him because they originally were going for Sean Connery and bigger names like that at the time. And they just happened to, one day say, hey, why don't we look at George Carlin? And they ended up getting him. So I think that's kind of fun. Another little factoid for you guys out there that have seen this movie before or haven't seen it is originally the time machine, the phone booth, originally was going to be a van. It was not going to be the telephone booth, which I thought was kind of interesting. It was going to be a 1969 Chevy van, which would be the time machine. But when it got rewrote by Warner Brothers, they changed it to the phone booth, kind of like Doctor Who. And I think Doctor Who was kind of an influence at the time for these rewrites. And that's why they decided to go with the phone booth. So I thought that was kind of an interesting little fact for you guys. All right. So getting into the actual film for you guys. So we start off in the year 2688. Humanity exists as a utopian society due to the inspiration of the music and philosophy of the two great ones, which are William Bill S. Preston, Esquire, and Ted Theodore Logan. One of the citizens, Rufus, is tasked by the leaders to travel back to San Dimas, California in 1988, 600 years prior, using a phone booth-shaped time machine to ensure that young Bill and Ted, two dim-witted high school students, successfully pass history class. The boys are on the brink of failing the course and out of school, and their only hope of passing is if they get a perfect score on their final history report, in which they must give an oral presentation on how historical figures would view the present San Dimas. If they fail, Ted's disagreeable father, Police Captain Logan, plans to ship Ted to a military school in Alaska, ending Bill and Ted's fledgling band, Wild Stallions, in altering history. So we'll stop there. So, I mean, that pretty much covers kind of that very beginning before their first time travel back. I mean, we get that great opening, them playing in the garage, them smoking themselves out. They don't know how to play. They don't know how to make a music video. They want Eddie Van Halen to be in their video, but don't have talent. We have them. We find out that, Ted, or not Ted, but Bill, his dad has remarried a girl that's only a couple years older than them out of high school. That they have to get rides from and stuff like that. We see that they're failing history. They go into school. They're asked questions and they don't even know who certain people are. And I think one of my favorite lines by that teacher is like, you guys think that Caesar was a salad dressing dude. It was absolutely such a great line. I think that's absolutely freaking hilarious. And, they're like, and he's asking them a question. He's like, he's dead? And the funny thing about these characters, too, is I guess when Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter first were starting to play the characters, they were playing them too straight. They weren't as dumb-witted as they ended up being in this. And that's kind of what the writers were going for. They wanted to be very dim-witted teenagers. And actually, originally, too, they wanted them to be 14-year-old kids to be these characters that this was happening to. And so when they got cast, Alex Winters and Keanu Reeves, who both at the time were in their mid-20s, they definitely were not high school students. They had been out of high school for a few years. But at the same time, I think that they still played it off very well. But I think it's kind of funny that they were playing it a little too serious and they had to have them dumb it down a little bit. And it ended up coming off really well, I think. But I think it's such a great opening to this, film because you get an idea. You get the introduction by Rufus as well. Him explaining, that, 600 years prior or 700 years prior, back in 88 is, kind of when this all started, and that this is what leads to their utopian society. And he has the task of making sure they pass their test and you get that introduction to Rufus, that great George Carlin and stuff like that. And that was one thing I remember watching about this film, is how straight-laced George Carlin is in this compared to his real comedy, to how he really is. And it was like funny seeing him play such like a very domiciled character. And I thought that was hilarious, and that's so different and out of his comfort zone, which I thought was really great. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on this beginning, basically leading up to, them finding out, they have to pass their test to survive high school, to not flunk. And then Ted finding out that he go to military school if he flunks. And then, basically, going to try to find out information and end up their first meeting of Rufus. So we'll go to that point. I'll start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, you have to, be able to buy into, the whole concept that in this, Bill and Ted world or whatever, there's actually like a future, that sends them a fucking, time traveling phone booth, you know what I'm saying? And, this whole future society is based on fucking their band's fucking like album or some shit like that, like it's you gotta buy into all that, you know what I'm saying? And, but that's doable, it's doable, I don't know how old Keanu Reeves really was when he was in this cast of this movie, but I find it hard to believe that he was teenage age at that time. But maybe he was. I don't know.
23.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
Alex Winter, 22.
Yeah, which is but that's pretty typical of Hollywood, casting, when it comes to teenager roles, right? We've always seen actors, in their 20s playing those high school characters, yeah, I mean, for a, for wanting to go for like the, Bill and Ted are in high school vibe of the film, right? The two main actors do a credible job, driving that sort of vehicle of film or whatever that they have going on with Bill and Ted. I mean, the stuff where they have a band that they want to create and everything, right, and all that, it's a nice element or whatever, I guess. I love the way that they dress in the film. 19 fucking late 80s clothing, like fashion is very interesting to see. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept, time travel and actually like abduct physically historical figures, and like travel them back to the future, to be a part of the fucking history report, the oral history report or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's pretty far out concept, you know what I'm saying? But they make it work in the film. Yeah, I mean, the stepmom is okay looking. Like, I don't think she's, I don't know. I mean, she's pretty hot, but like, I've seen hotter in other movies, for sure. And yeah, but she's pretty hot. I dig how both the guys like want to bang the stepmom, in the movie or whatever, that's pretty dope. I like that. I enjoy that whole concept. But yeah, I forget who that actor is, but the I like that actor that plays the history teacher. You know, he's all right. Yeah, I like George Carlin. You know, being the sort of a mystery of the future or whatever. You know, to like help Bill and Ted. You know, that was a cool casting for late 1980s. But that's pretty much it, Cyber.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Great job. Love the talk about the stepmother. Great job. Great job. Most definitely, yes. That I think she was in there for more the eye candy than anything. Anyways, Andreas, same question, sir. Your thoughts on that sequence, basically leading up to Rufus's first encounter with the guys at the Circle K.
Sure. Yeah, so I thought this opening was really fun. I thought, again, first of all, this opening is basically just setting up our characters, like understanding their situation of like why they're doing the time travel, and it's a reasonable and like relatable thing. You know, they're trying to like pass a class. I can relate to that, and especially Ted, like I feel so sorry for Ted because his dad is so annoying. Captain Logan, that's his name. Ted's father is so like the typical straight faced serious dad. They're gonna send him to like military school, which is crazy. Where was it? Up to Canada or Alaska? I'm like,
Alaska.
Whoa, Alaska. Like so, like seriously, it's like what the hell? And so like I totally understand from that like opening sequence of like, okay, we really need to pass this class in the history part, and I think I agree with Jeff. It's such a out there concept, just bringing all these historic figures to be the presentation is like hilarious but tragedy. I think that's very fun. The mom, I don't know what you're talking about, Jeff. I thought the mom was hot. I thought like she's not like 10 out of 10. I'll give it like a 8.5 out of 10. I have to say, she was she was like typical 80s hotness, but not like I don't know, like Brooke Shields or whatever, like the hottest of 1980s actresses. But I do love the running gag that Ted and then the dad. The dad was so funny, but like the fact that he gave his son and the friend like $2 to have dinner outside, like out of the house, and like he's gonna have sex in his son's bedroom. It's like wow, he like really is not hiding the fact that he loves this stepmom. It's just hilarious. Yeah, and the teacher. Well, actually, one thing I was kind of surprised because George, who's the Rufus, George Clarin. He's a great actor. I like his comedy. It's very dark comedy, which it's in my alley. I was kind of surprised how little he's in the film. Like I thought he was gonna be like Doc Brown, or I don't want to go this far, but like Doctor, the Doctor from Doctor Who, for them. I was kind of surprised how little we got him. Like he's from the beginning, and then obviously when we do the Robbie timey scene of them seeing again themselves later on in the film, just like they did in the beginning, meeting up Rufus there, and then of course towards the end of the film, I was kind of surprised how little we got with Rufus. I thought Rufus was going to be joining them, but not a complaint. And for this kind of comedy, he did a really good job because the comedy is not dark. It's like very like like light-hearted comedy, and like he did a really good job with that because if you've seen his work, like HBO stand-ups and all that, is all dark comedy. So a very different vibe from his like style of like humor. But yeah, overall I love this opening. It's so funny. Like the quotes are so iconic, especially when they start doing their like imaginary guitar thing, and you can hear the sound of it. It's really hilarious. When they say excellent, that's the one thing I know from this, and obviously I see the sequel. Like when they say excellent, that's the thing I know from this movies. Is that iconic line. So yeah, overall, love this opening. Love I mean, the humor is so top notch. The comedy is like just like that at your face is like they do a good job setting up the gags and paying them off, which is really good. Ed Sullivan is a great writer. He knows how to do the humor well. If you see his work, like Mom, Dad Save the World or Men in Black, like he just knows how to punch up the dialogue really well. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Todd Spango. Yes, Todd Spango. Love John Lovitz in that fucking film. Such a great movie.
Oh god, I wish he had more to do. He's so funny.
Oh my gosh, so freaking funny. That whole film is so great. Terry Garr, Jeffrey Jones, great film. Anywho, great job, both of you. Great job, guys. The guy that played the teacher, Bernie Casey, he actually was a former football player. He played in the late 60s, the late 60s. He played for the Rams and the Niners. And he unfortunately passed away in 2017. And I remember seeing his thing on Facebook, and I was like super sad. I was like, oh, I love that guy. I thought he was so great. But he was actually a football star. So, his whole demeanor and stuff like that, I thought he did a great job, not as a, usually not an actor, but being a football player, he did a really good job. And then the girl that plays Missy, Amy Koch, she actually was big into like the daytime dramas on TV. That's what really was her kind of forte. She was in Days of Our Lives. She was in several Gunsmoke made for TV films. She actually came back for Bill and Ted Face the Music. She actually makes an appearance in it. So if you see it, you'll get to see her. Yep. But yeah, definitely, I think she was the eye candy in the film, besides Diane Franklin and the other actress that played the other princess. But yeah, great film, great stuff. Very funny, guys. Very good. I think that there was a lot. There was a lot about this film that I actually did not know until I looked it up, which was actually kind of funny. But in the late 80s, there was actually a cereal named after the animated series they put out briefly, which I thought was interesting. And originally, this film having its sci-fi theme actually was not originally a part of the original script. So which I find that kind of interesting. And another thing I found out was that both Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter actually auditioned for the other role. So originally, Keanu Reeves was trying to be Bill, and Alex Winter was trying to be Ted. So I'm glad that they switched roles, because they both did a lot better job as their characters in this film. And then I absolutely love the thought of them bringing back actual physical people from the past to do their history report about. I think that was such a great concept, actually bringing back Billy the Kid, Socrates, Lincoln, Mozart, or not Mozart, but Beethoven and so forth. I thought that was such a great, cool concept. Who better to tell their own life than that actual person? And I think that's almost kind of like if we were to go to Disney World and go to the Hall of the Presidents, where they have the animatronics. That's what kind of made me think of. That's what it kind of made me feel like for that time, because that's around the time that became a very big attraction at Disney World. So I think that was a really clever idea. I think that was great writing on their part, Ed Solomon and stuff, and made that really fun. All right. So on to the next section. Get back to the synopsis here. All right. So as I was saying, we're at the Circle K, and we meet Rufus. They meet Rufus for the first time, and he basically tells them that he's there to help them finish their book report, their report for history, so that they don't fail, and that they have a phone booth, time machine that they can use to go and get, basically the people they need to do the book report. After assuring the present day Bill and Ted that Rufus' claims are valid and that they could trust them, and they disappear in their time booth when the other Bill and Ted pop up. And they, basically we have that scene where like Ted's like, remember to wind your watch and stuff like that in 69 and stuff like that. And so then Rufus shows Bill and Ted how to operate the time booth, taking them back to 1805, where they find Napoleon Bonaparte leading his forces against Austria. As Rufus, Bill, Ted return to the present, Napoleon gets thrown by a cannonball explosion into their wake and gets dragged through the circuits of time along with them. Rufus explains that time will progress normally for Bill and Ted and that they cannot miss their class presentation the next day. He then departs, leaving the empty time booth for them. As they discuss where to go next, they discover Napoleon stuck in a nearby tree, inspiring them to abduct historical figures and take them to the present for their school presentation. They leave Napoleon with Ted's younger brother Deacon and ask him to take Napoleon out to town before they go. So we'll stop there because there's quite a bit that goes on in that whole section there. We get that great 1805, Bonaparte scene. And the guy that played Napoleon, I thought, did such a great job. I absolutely love this film. Taught me how to say shit in French, which I absolutely love. I absolutely love that. I love that he says that so many times, actually in French. And I remember watching it repeatedly to remember that word. And I just absolutely love sometimes just saying like, meh, and which is absolutely freaking hilarious. But I think that guy looked like Napoleon. I think that he acted and did a great job. And I think he was a really great casting. So what are your guys' thoughts on this section? The great, first ride out, them finding Napoleon Bonaparte, him basically ending up hitching a ride after he's blown by a cannonball, and then them coming up with the idea of using the historical figures for their report, and then them leaving Napoleon with Deacon as the endpoint. And I'll start with you, Andreas.
Yeah, I think this was where I started to like more of the movie. The concept of like, first off, yeah, I agree. The Napoleon actor was so spot on, and I thought his French was really good, which is kind of surprising. When they discover Napoleon, I think the front yard, right, that inspired them to take getting all the historic figures that they need to do to present their final grade is like such a funny and like just sci-fi concept that you can get behind. Is hilarious, and I just love the way. And by the way, we'll get it later, but leaving Napoleon with the kid was so funny, especially when we go to the ice cream thing. That is so funny. It's like his reaction to like them singing is just like, oh my god, so hilarious. But we'll get into it later on. After that, they get Billy the Kid. When they go, Billy the Kid in the Wild West, that was very funny. Just the way they ask for beers was hilarious, and then they made the side comment that like they don't check your IDs, which was funny. Of course, the guy who was taking the bathroom was like hilarious. Like I thought initially the bathroom was gonna fall down, and but no, he just comes out and sees the horror of the time machine. I thought the actor that played Billy the Kid was really good. He was really funny. Another actor I recognize, but I just I think he did a good job because he was in Tron, right? Who played Billy the Kid? Because I think that was the thing that I was kind of shocked. There was so many people that was in this film that I did recognize. He was great as Billy the Kid. I thought his performance was good. He really felt like he was in the Western. Oh my god! And when they got to the ancient Greece, to pick up what's his name? Stratus, the ancient Greek philosopher. Oh my god, that one was my favorite part. Just because it's just a very quick shot of Billy the Kid, but like with his interaction with the boys, like he does like certain things like they're from their time. Like he holds, I think he holds like a football when they were getting the ancient Greek philosopher. That was hilarious. I really laughed hard when like we pan quickly to see where Billy the Kid's standing at in the time machine. He's holding like a football. It was hilarious. And then of course Ted and Bill trying to convince the philosopher to come with him, and like they like of course Ted does his thing where like he just grabs with the sand and then the philosopher sees this and like helps him, I guess, correct time, whatever. But so all that was really funny. And where's the endpoint, Saber? I'm sorry. It's with the princesses. They meet up.
Nope. Nope.
no?
Nope. Nope. It's when they leave Napoleon with Deacon.
Oh, Deacon. Yeah. So, but yeah, overall, I thought the music section was good. It was funny, and I thought, this is where the movie picks up its pace. And because like this movie is very short, and so I think this is where they start getting more fun after they discovered the Napoleon. So that's all I have to say.
Okie dokie. Thank you. Going over to you, Mr. Jeff. Your thoughts, sir, on that section leading to Bill and Ted leaving Napoleon with Deacon.
I don't really have a ton to say about that section. I mean, the historical reenactment, element of the film, I do think was pretty well done, pretty well handled, in this movie, especially considering that you mentioned already that this movie was made on a a modest budget, the only aspect of them retrieving Napoleon from history or whatever, is just that it is cool seeing the historical reenactment of whatever that battle was, you know what I mean? That they found him at, whatever war that was or whatever, historically, right? I mean, I think that I probably should have mentioned it already, but I liked Bill's parents. Ted's dad is a dick, obviously, Audrey's already mentioned that, but yeah, I mean, besides that, I mean, I don't know who that child actor is that plays Deacon, but obviously I've seen him before, on television or something, somewhere before. The concept of the whole traveling phone booth and all that, is kind of out there, it almost seems like the phone booth expands over time as they fit more people in, but that's pretty much it, Cyber.
Okay, thank you, sir. Excellent. And yeah, the kid that played Deacon, his name was Fraser Bain. I don't know anything else about him. I don't know if he was in anything else, but that's his name, Fraser Bain.
I've definitely seen him in other stuff when he got older. I have.
Cool. All right. So yeah, excellent job, guys. Excellent job. Definitely, I think it's a fun section. I very much love it. I love the introduction to Napoleon. I think that's one of my favorite, sections besides the water park scene. But that's really great. But I think there's a couple other interesting facts about the film you might have not known. They actually started out with a different title. It wasn't originally called Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It was actually originally called Bill and Ted's Time Band, which doesn't roll off the tongue like, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, I feel. So I'm glad they changed it to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Sounds a lot better than Time Band. But I think that also comes into play when, originally it wasn't supposed to be really sci-fi and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's quite interesting. Also, I think another interesting fact is another thing about the Rufus character before they got Carlin. They actually were thinking of bringing in Eddie Van Halen to play the character, which I thought was interesting. So I think that's an interesting thought process And definitely would have. I don't think it would have been as good without Carlin as Rufus. I can't see anybody else playing the character. He just does such a great job. And then one other factoid for you guys is at the beginning sequence, the three people sitting that were kind of like, it seemed to be like the leaders of this utopian society that tell Rufus to go and help Bill and Ted. Those three people there were actual musicians. Originally, they wanted to get ZZ Top to portray these characters, but weren't able to get them. So they actually ended up getting these guys, these other three people, which one of them happens to be Clarence Clemens from the E Street Band of Bruce Springsteen. He's the gentleman in the center. And then you also have the lead singer of the Motels as the woman on the left. And then on the right is another person that was a part of a band that I would have never guessed that was a frontman of the Tubes, but that was Fee Waybill, which I think is interesting. So you had Clarence Clemens, Martha Davis, and Fee Waybill were those three people that portrayed those like in charge people. And I never knew that they were all three musicians. I knew that Clarence Clemens was, but I did not realize that was the Motel singer and the frontman of the Tube. So I thought that was a cool little factoid for you guys. All right. So any extra thoughts on that section before we move on from there?
No, just briefly, I just want to mention the Van Halen thing. That makes a lot of sense. They were thinking to cast him as Rufus because they reference him so many times in the film. So just all I have to say about that, because that'd be kind of funny because he's so crazy during that time, Van Halen. That could have been a very interesting choice before they picked the one that I agree, Jeff. I agree, Cyber. Sorry. Like, yeah, George was the perfect for Rufus because he just, like, he feels like he's from the future and, like, he's, from that time. And where if you have Van Halen, I don't think you would believe he's from the future, And just the way like George talk, like how he talks is like very much like a future person, I think that's the thing that I appreciate about the casting is that George was right for that choice, as you were saying before. So I agree in that.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Great little tidbits there for you. All right, so moving on. So after our endpoint, Bill and Ted end up going on befriending Billy the Kid in the Wild West and Socrates in ancient Greece before stopping in 15th century England, where they fall in love with Princess Joanna and Elizabeth. Their father tries to have them executed, but Billy and Socrates help them escape. The booth, slightly damaged by attacking night in the process, takes them to 2688, where they discover that society reveres them and their future band. They are inspired to complete their report with extra credit by abducting Sigmund Freud, Ludwig van Beethoven, Joan of Arc, Genghis Khan, and Abraham Lincoln. After a brief stop in prehistoric times to repair the booth, they program it to return to present, but end up outside Circle K the night before, where Rufus first introduces himself. They convince their earlier selves of Rufus' trustworthiness before he explains how to get to the next day. He further warns them that they have 2 hours left before their history report is due. So we'll stop there, because quite a bit goes on there, especially with the England section, with the introduction of Diane Franklin and the other gal's character, those princesses, Joanna and Elizabeth. And then, of course, the introduction of Billy the Kid, introduction of Socrates, Sigmund Freud, Ludwig Beethoven, Joan of Arc, Genghis Khan, Abraham Lincoln. I just absolutely love this section because all the different characters they decide to abduct, I thought were really great choices for history in the late 80s. Due to the fact that I remember in school that, Beethoven, Joan of Arc, Abraham Lincoln, they were all very much talked about all the time. Like Lincoln was a big center of a lot of history, along with George Washington and stuff like that about the presidents. You would hear about, Genghis Khan a little bit. You would hear a little bit about Joan of Arc. Sigmund Freud, I really don't feel like I heard anything about until you got to like high school. But Sigmund Freud definitely is a person that you would know about because he was, he considered very influential over psychiatry and stuff like that. So it wasn't like too out of the park that he could be a part of their history lesson. So I thought that was really, I thought those were great choices, and just absolutely all these actors and actresses did such a great job. The gal that played Joan of Arc, I absolutely think she's great. She's super funny. And then, of course, all of them have their great moments in the film. But I think this is a great introduction to all of them. Shows us that great stop off in prehistoric time when they're fixing the booth, and then returning to Rufus, and him checking on like, is everything going okay? Is like as that fatherly thing. I thought is really great. So going back to you, Jeff, what are your thoughts on this section? The introduction to all these great characters, and then ending back up at the Circle K. And basically them being reminded the report is due that day.
I mean, the sort of period where they're going back in time, to retrieve the these historical figures. After I didn't understand really why they went to the future. I thought they had their manual and all that, so I didn't, they had the numbers for like all the years or whatever. So I didn't understand how they ended up in the future. But whatever. It works for the film, so so
they end up there. They end up there because the time machine is broken. That's why they have to stop.
To
fix it
because the damaged antenna already at that point.
Correct.
That's what's happening.
That's what happens.
So how are they able to? Well, whatever. So yeah. I mean, I appreciate picking up Socrates, picking up these different historical figures, from their time periods, was cool to see, obviously. And the stuff with the princesses in England or whatever, I really didn't care for that part all that much. It was kind of whatever to me. That part, honestly, I could do without that. But I like the actors that played Joan of Arc and Genghis Khan and all that. They were all pretty good. I mean, I don't know how believable I find it that they would have like the whole future society would be based on their fucking like band's music or whatever, like I don't know how realistic that really is at the end of the day, you know what I mean? But it's definitely interesting, it's creatively interesting, to do that. So yeah. That's pretty much it, Cyber.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good job. Excellent. Thank you for your contribution. All right. Going over to you, Mr. Andres. Your thoughts, sir, on that section. And the end point, just as a reminder, is the great part after they have grabbed all the people and they are back at the Circle K, and Rufus reminds them the report is due that day.
Okay, got it. Thank you. All right, so I got that highlight. Keep it on track. Okay, so yeah, so this big section where they meet up Billy the Kid and like gather the whole historic figures up to, they be up again with Rufus in this very like, time travel cliche of like meeting themselves in an earlier point of the film. this section is the fun part of the film because you're seeing all these historic figures that you heard of. Good point, Saber. I Out of the bunch, I think Sigmund Freud and the ancient philosopher is the two that I didn't know watching this film. I can't remember in my life right now if I studied them in my history class. With the rest, I of course I knew. Of course, Beethoven is iconic. His music is used in so many movies. I mean, obviously, if you're a Stanley Kubrick fan, I mean, his music are so iconic in The Clockwork Orange. Genghis Khan, I knew, I recognize. He's actually my favorite. In terms of comedic, just visual stuff in the film. That Khan guy was hilarious. Especially when he was getting, later on when he's in the mall, it's hilarious. But I thought that actor was really funny. Um, and oh my god, Evan Lincoln was he's so modest and so earnest. It's kind of cute. Yeah, I agree with Jeff. The princesses, I don't really care. I don't think I thought they were cute, but they're not sexy as the mom. Uh, who is it? Bill's stepmom. I felt like they were decent. They were like a 5 out of 10. Um, yeah, I agree. It kind of dragged too long. I was kind of surprised we spent so long in the 15th century. And but at least had one joke that was funny. I like that Bill thought that Ted died, and then he has this really funny line. He say bogus, and horrendous, the most triumphant. That was such a funny line, and I thought that was hilarious. Um, yeah, and then yeah, I kind of agree. When they get to the future timeline, you have to accept that they messed up their time machine. They're gonna be it's a very cliche time travel thing. It's I think was it Back to Future? Well, it's not Back to Future, but in part two when they thought they were in the 1985 timeline, but in reality they were in the alternative 1985. Here it made sense that because they damaged their time machine, they could have gone somewhere in a crazy timeline, but because the limited budget they had, they just went to that one room that we saw in the beginning in the future. So I was like, okay, and I said before, I love Billy the Kid. I think he's the best out of the bunch. He has really charisma. He does a lot more visual gas. He talks to some of the characters, which is kind of neat. And then but yeah, that's this I like this section. It's really fun. I thought just seeing all those historic characters that we study in our class, it was really cool that they used them here. So but it's really effective, I have to say. And speaking of the special effects, despite the limited budget, it's kind of neat how they visualize the time travel. That's kind of how the Doctor Who time travel is. It's that, they go through portals or such in that kind of visual way in the show, both the old and new. But of course, new they have more budget and technology than this movie and the old TV show of Doctor Who. Yeah, but I'm surprised that they didn't know about Doctor Who because Doctor Who was the original show, not the reboot of David Tennant, but it was popular during the 80s. I'm surprised they they were not inspired by what on Doctor Who because all this is what if I had to explain you what Doctor Who is, this is what Doctor Who is. It's just the Doctor traveling all different times and trying to save it from some alien invasion or something like that. But yeah, overall, love this section. Definitely my favorite of the movie because the pace is good. The comedy is on point. You really care about Bill and Ted here in this section. They're trying their what works is their chemistry. The both actors, they're really good at their roles here, and you can tell they're best friends and they're trying their best to make this report work, which is that's relatable and they're not slacking. They're doing it in such a over the top extreme way, which is funny, but it works. So that's all I have to say about this section.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good job. All right. So yeah, I think it's a great section. I like the whole princess thing. I think the stuff in the castle is really funny, and it definitely is a slower part. I will give it that. But at the same time, I think it still plays out very well and gives you an introduction to who is a part of making Bill and Ted's music so powerful that it unites people. So I think that's a nice little touch. All right. So moving on. So when they arrive at the current time, they leave the historical figures at the local mall to learn about San Dimas while looking for Napoleon. After learning that Deacon has abandoned Napoleon at a bowling alley, Bill and Ted track him to a local water park. Back at the mall, the historical figures become fascinated but also overwhelmed by San Dimas' sculpture and are soon arrested for inadvertently causing mayhem. Captain Logan, determined to break up Bill and Ted's friendship, refuses to release their historical figures and orders Ted to start packing up for military school. The boys execute an escape plan based on using the time booth in the future to set up what they need in the present. They break their friends out of jail, then present each to the assembled school using stage lighting effects and rousing music. The report earns a standing ovation. They pass the course and they return the historical figures to their own times. So we'll stop there. So what are your guys' thoughts on this part? I mean, like I said, once again, this is one of my favorite parts, especially with Napoleon at the water park, at the bowling alley. That's where we get to hear him say, "Mare, mare, mare, mare," which is absolutely freaking hilarious. Him in discovering the water park is hilarious. He's like, "Boo," and then he goes flying, and then he keeps wanting to get back on, which was freaking hilarious. And of course, then all the historical figures in the mall, them doing their thing. We see Joan of Arc doing jazzercise. Beethoven starts playing with, electronic keyboards. We see Genghis Khan going crazy with a bat and stuff like that, which is super funny. And, we just have a lot of great time in this section and where they eventually get arrested, which is hilarious too. And then them coming up with the idea of breaking them out using a voice recorder and having Ted's father follow it, which was super funny. And then the actual, presentation of the report, which is really awesome. And I think just super enjoyable and very entertaining. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on this section. And I'll start with you, Jeff.
The movie gets a little overly whimsical and like overly cheesy a little bit in this part of the film. Seeing the different historical figures like hanging out at the mall, obviously, and all that stuff, is very, like, highly entertaining, obviously, and funny. When it gets to, like, to them getting arrested and locked up and they've got to, like, free them and all that, I don't know. I mean, that's a little far-fetched, I guess it works for the film, and then, the actual, like, his history report at the school, like, angle or whatever, of the section, it's okay, like, obviously, the guys passed the class and all that, which is good, and, all that, but, I don't know, it's just kind of cheesy, some of the, reactions, like, by the other high school kids to, like, the stuff that the historical figures are doing, or just seeing them, like, it's kind of just, I don't know, it's crazy, and cheesy, it's it works good for the movie, that they're able to, pull off this magical, history report with actual fucking historical figures, and nobody thinks anything of it, like the teacher doesn't think anything suspicious of it or, nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, it's pretty out there. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's good to know that Ted won't have to go to military school, hopefully, right? Unless he ends up going anyway, because he's not gonna fail out of school, right? So that's positive. And yeah, I really liked Joan of Arc leading the like exercising class or whatever the fuck you want to call it. That was good. And I don't know, Beethoven, like playing the keyboards and all that shit or whatever, and produce the music or whatever, like futuristic music. I don't know about all that. Yeah, they bring everybody back, which is cool, right? They pass the class, right? So that's good. It sets up, us moving on eventually to, Bill and Ted, number 2, right? So, yeah, it's, all right section of the film, it, services the film well, and it's definitely very like 1988, 1989 feeling, like the mall, like the police, the scene at the police department, the school, it's very like late 80s feeling, the music, yeah, that's pretty much it, Cyber.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, going over to you, Mr. Andreas. What are your thoughts, sir, on that section leading up to, Bill and Ted getting an A on their assignment?
I don't know. It's a really fun, finale. It's nothing special. It's kind of like where I think we kind of expected it. I mean, I wasn't expecting them to have an F. I think I think it's not that serious, that kind of movie. It's a comedy, so like they're the heroes, so they're gonna pass. So, but I like the way they presented, the presentation. It was cool that they like one by one showing their historic figures and explain what they did. Like that was cool. Like it's better presentations that I seen some of my peers in my school if we ever did that. Because I don't think we did that in high school, so that was kind of weird. But it was funny leading up to it. I liked that we were seeing the other students doing their presentation, and some of them were very funny, comedic. Like especially that football player that like he had that one turn, and he was like so bogus. Like he didn't know what he was doing. He was like literally failing, and like you saw like the grades that Mr. Ryan, the teacher that Bill Ted is in the class, and you saw the mark he did with the the student, and that was like very funny visually. It's like what can a student like just like that joke was so funny and it was so stupid. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, the fun part was like seeing the history. Like I know it was kind of silly see Ben Toying doing his thing in the synthesizer, but like you wanted to see that because that's comedy gold, and I thought that was funny. Like it was funny. He like he hears that sound, he's like, oh, God had sent it to me here. But the funny part was the Joan Arc. Like she literally pushed the what was it, the exercise girl that was leading that show, and like she took over that. That was hilarious. Come on, like she was doing this dance moves, whatever she was doing was like hilarious. Oh my god, I don't know if you guys were cracking up, but Billy the Kid and the ancient philosopher thought they were getting hit by the two women. That was so hilarious. And like Billy the Kid's like Chichi him like, okay, this is how we do it, like, be professionals. And then the end of that scene of like, was it Billy the Kid, and then I don't know who, what's his Stinkman or someone else came in and like say, you're are such a geek. Like I was like, wow, they really went for that. So I thought the mall section was really funny and like hilarious with the historic figures interacting the mall and all that. And and that was, I thought that was the funniest part of the film. And then when they were trying to escape them from the jail cell, from the dad's station, that I was kind of curious how they're gonna do that. And then of course, I mean, I didn't took it serious. I was like, okay, like some, timey wimey, time travel. They conveniently get these stuff like the keys, and then the time, like the recording thing was hilarious. I was like, I can't believe the dad fall for that, and like, I just laughed so hard when the bucket of trash came down to him, and then like Ted like leaving the keys, for him because now he found it, because the dad's been bugging him, but where's the keys, throughout the film. But yeah, so I like this section. It's decent. It was funny. I was happy that the boys got a passing grade because I didn't want Ted to go to military school. And and the dad was so annoying. And like he was talking, like I would say, I agree with you, Jeff. Yeah, Bill's parents are way better. I'll probably just stick with the Bill's parents because like I like how the dad just doesn't say anything and like he just like goes for the flow, and I like that. And I was just happy that at the end they got their way and they successfully passed their grade, which is awesome. So overall, I like this finale. It was decent, and just remind you that it's a comedy. It's all supposed to be laughs, and that's what it is supposed to be. And I was laughing throughout this section. Oh, and the Napoleon, the fact that they think he was going to the Waterloo, pitch perfect comedy. Love it. I love that he got addicted to the water parks and cursing at Cyber for like he started saying shit in French. That was comedy gold. And of course, I don't know guys, he laughed so hard when he was eating that ice cream and those two was it the two guys like in the restaurants they start seeing something because it's the special thing and they seeing that he's a little piggy and like and then his reaction is like okay, he's gonna kill them. And I mean, he has a sword, so I was surprised he didn't chop their heads off. So that scene when he was getting ice cream and like he gets this weird birthday like sing along because he was like a piggy. That killed me when I was watching the film. So overall, love this section. That's all I have to say.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Great job. Lots of great information there, sir. Very well done. I love it. Every time we're on. Cheap viewers on streambo.com.
Yeah.
Streambo.
Streambo.
Look,
Anywho.
Streambo, get out of here.
Yeah, get out of here, Streambo. Yeah, get out of here. All right. Great job, guys. Thank you. All right, so finishing up the film. Sometime later, Rufus returns accompanied by the two princesses he has rescued from arranged marriages. He says they will also be part of Wild Stallions and the four of them will change the world with their music. He asks to jam with them, but on hearing their fledgling attempts to play, he turns to the movie audience and assures them they do get better. And that's how the film ends. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think about that last part, the ending? Basically, Rufus coming with the two princesses, them being a part of Wild Stallions, their hilarious, playing, and kind of that final moment when Rufus turns to the audience and says, "They do get better." What are you guys' thoughts on that? And I'll start with you, Mr. Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's again, it's very farcical, I don't really, in all honesty, I could care less that the princesses came back to, create the band or whatever, I mean, again, this whole concept of the future, human race is dependent on this band's music or whatever. It's just kind of out there, I mean, again, it's nothing against this film, but I'm not a super big fan of like the rock music overall, like not just in this film, but but that was coming out at that time, that was popular. Some of it, just I don't know, it's very like maybe generic almost sounding, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's an okay ending, not my not my favorite at all, but it's an okay film. Again, it's coming in at an hour and a half, for a runtime is very, makes it a very easy watch, for me anyways, right? So I really appreciate that. It's cool that they're able to make their story for the film work, to a completion, in that time period, that's obviously well done, and yeah, obviously it's a happy ending, so that's always positive to see, and that's pretty much it, sir. That's pretty much all I got for Bill and Ted.
All right, sir. Going over to you, Mr. Andres. Your thoughts, sir, on that final segment.
I thought the last part of the movie was hilarious. I mean, just seeing was it Rufus again and like talking to them was great. I was like very sad that he wasn't in the film enough. So just see him again, it was good. Him rescuing the two princes from the arranged marriages was like really nice, and I like that like man comedy that like are they really good musicians? I did question that, and I like that he kind of pulled like the breaking the fourth wall and said they get better, which is really because like when he started to play, like he was more professional, like he was good. So I'm like, I don't know, are you telling the truth or it's just you helping them become better? I don't know. I tried to think, did Rufus comes back for the second film? Like that's the thing, and this princess come back for the sequel too. These two chicks, like because like I don't know, like I thought we don't really like I don't need to see the princesses again, but seeing Rufus again would be pretty awesome. But yeah, it was a good finale. It made sense. It was funny. Nothing home right about. I was just happy to see Rufus. That's all I have to say about this one.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. So yeah, I'll give my final thoughts here. I really love this ending. I think it's hilarious. I love that the look right into the camera and said they do get better. I think was absolutely fantastic. And finishing off the film how it started, I think is a great way of ending it. The princess is coming. I thought that was great. I love that they were a part of it because they're fun. I think they're hilarious, and I think they're just a great addition to their quirkiness and kind of those guys, having these love of their lives types of deal. I think that was great. And I just think it's a really solid ending, where it ends on a very happy note. And it's a great way of ending, supposed utopian world where everyone's at peace. And I think that's a great idea, great concept. It's not reality, but at the same time, that's the great thing about movies. It takes you out of reality. And I think that's what makes this film so much fun for me. So I think that was great. Excellent. All right. Excellent job, guys. What rating would you give the film, starting with you, Jeff?
I'll give it a 6.5, Cyber.
Okay. Andres?
8.5 out of 10. I thought it was really adorable, really great.
Excellent. Of course, I'll give it a 10 because I absolutely love this movie. I think it's fantastic. I think it's absolutely just fun, and hits all the points of being entertaining. So I got to give it a 10. All right. So that is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, folks. Hope you enjoyed. And I will turn it over to Mr. Jeff to take us out.
All right. Andre's the pop culture guy, sir. Do your plugs. Have at it.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. This is Andreas, Pop Culture Guy. Thank you for so much joining us for the Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure movie review. This was very fun. Very excited. Very happy to discuss this with the boys. Recently, just posted by James Bond Part 3 Comic Freak, so you can check that out. I just made a top 6 Commando video where top 6 one-liners that's from that movie. It's hilarious. Check that out. I also posted my finally the trailer reaction of the Fallout and Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2s. I did with Matt and Tim when I did the View to Kill live stream. We did the reaction with those 2 trailers with them. That was really fun, so you can check that out. The new short tonight will be another Commando clip, and then the movie short review will be Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure. So I'll do a short review on this movie in I think Sunday. Sunday or Saturday. But anyway, that's where I'm at right now. And right now I can currently confirm me and Jeff, we have I think we have our next live stream review will be coming soon. I don't know what date. I need to talk to Jeff about that. But yeah, that's where we're at. We're probably gonna do Legion. But in the meantime, check out my 3 Bond live stream views. So far they're doing very well, so please support that and check out the other live stream reviews I did with Jeff and then of course Luke previously in October. So that's where we're at right now. So thank you so much.
Okay. And Cyber, go ahead, sir.
So if you guys enjoyed me as a moderator tonight, or if you join me on the panel, you can check out my solo content. You'll find me under Cyberneticshark. You'll find me on YouTube. That's my home page. You can also find me on X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all the different places. Check them out. Patreon, check out the Patreon. Anywho, as you can see there, my most recent video is the Project Hail Mary trailer reaction. That is an upcoming film that comes out in March. With Ryan Gosling. It's a space movie. It looks absolutely fantastic. Check that out if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen my Tron Ares review, check that one out too as well. Those are my 2 most recent there. On my shorts, of course, I've done a few more AI Soras. I've done a few mini reviews. If you haven't checked those out, give them a whirl. I just did one of me at the Last Supper with Jesus, which I think is absolutely hilarious. If you haven't seen that one, check that out. If you haven't seen my Greenland mini review with the sequel coming out in January, thought I finally watched that film and checked it out. It was really good. Check out that mini review. And I'll be having more stuff up for you guys soon. Some more movie reviews, more AIs and all that kind of good stuff. So keep on watching, keep on subscribing, keep growing that wonderful, amazing group of people watching us here on the MCU'S Bleeding Edge. Keep on trucking and watching Andreas, and we appreciate you guys. Help us keep on moving and help us make this as a other income.
Birth Rebirth is a interesting title. I like that. Most definitely. Birth Rebirth. I'm assuming that has to be some kind of horror movie of some kind.
Yes.
Yeah. I figured.
It's like a Frankenstein movie almost.
Okay. That makes sense. Now the title makes sense. All right, guys. All right, Cyber. Thank you very much, sir. I was a pop culture guy. For DevFest, aka True Knowledge, we're out of here. We'll be back for it. Welcome to Derry next Wednesday. Episode 7, I think.
Yes. 7. Yep.
And we will see folks.